Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're watching Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On today's episode of Eating W's, we have our NFL Week 6 recap. Before we jump into those games, though, just a few small tidbits of news. Starting off with two practice squad signings, which I know sounds pretty random, but they're both very entertaining ones. One of them being former Falcons wide receiver and former Tennessee wide receiver Julio Jones being signed to the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad after the career he had just not too long ago. It's kind of crazy saying he's signed to a practice squad.
Yeah. It's funny in the NFL now, ever since the COVID rules, you can add these players. There's no age limit on the practice squad, so you can add these veteran guys to your practice squad and kind of get them up to speed with your offense, and then eventually promote them or sign them from the practice squad. So that's what they plan to do with Julio, and we'll have to see if he makes an impact later this season.
Which is a rule I like. I like that
I do
one.
too.
It's a good one to keep. And then the other signing is James Robinson, former Jaguars running back and many other teams running back, signing with the Green Bay Packers practice squad. You feeling good about James Robinson?
I think he might get some elevations from the practice squad. We kept elevating Patrick Taylor from the practice squad, and we did not re-sign him. So it'll be interesting to see if we do call up James Robinson to kind of take up that third running back role that we use behind Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And with Aaron Jones being so questionable all the time, our third running back has gotten significant playing time. So it'll be nice to see if he's able to get into a game and see if he's able to make any impact.
Go back to 2020 forms, James
Yeah,
Robinson,
hopefully.
definitely.
I'd like to see him come back when he's got a 1,000-yard season.
That'd be cool. And then a few things that we touched on last week, but nothing was official, became official this week. Miami Dolphins running back Devontae A-Chain was put on the IR list and will be out for 4 weeks now. And Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson decides to have season-ending shoulder surgery. So the fourth overall pick will now miss the entire rest of the season, and Gardner Minshew will be at the helm for the Indianapolis Colts. But one nice thing, aside from that, all minimal injuries. A good amount of minimal injuries to some big-name players. But nothing serious, nothing that should keep them out for more than a week or two, which you love to see.
Yeah, I don't think there were any season enders this week.
Nothing that I can think of.
Not that I can think of.
Biggest one is 49ers offense really got beat up with both Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuels leaving the game last week, but neither of them have been officially or ruled out for any number of weeks.
All three of them are just day-to-day and are questionable for Monday night.
Well, they're facing the Vikings, so fingers crossed that they can stay out for just 1 week. Don't want them to stay out any longer, just the 1 week. Speaking of the Vikings, we're now going to jump into our games. The Packers had a bye week this week. Jordan Love very possibly still found a way to throw an interception this week.
It hasn't been that bad. It's only been 2 games.
But they had a bye week, did not play this week, so we will roll straight into the Vikings game and an NFC North matchup with the Minnesota Vikings heading to Chicago to take on the Bears and winning by a score of 19-13. They took a pretty commanding lead all the way through the third quarter when Justin Fields was in, and then Justin Fields got hurt and left for the rest of the game on a sack, and we seemed to just stop playing. I guess we decided that the game was over at that point because we straight up almost let Tyson Bradham, their backup quarterback, have a comeback on us. Luckily, he threw a absolute duck to DJ Moore while they were coming up on the red zone to take the lead, and Byron Murphy was able to get, I believe, his first, if not only second, interception of the season. But he got it in a huge time, and he's been locked down, even though he hasn't gotten an interception yet this season. So really good stuff by Byron Murphy in that game and throughout the entire year. This game was just a cluster to watch. Every time I watch the Vikings, I feel like they are so in control. I don't even know how to explain watching the Vikings this season. We go against these teams like the Eagles and we have 4 turnovers and it looks like we should be so far out of the game and we look so far out of control. But then we're only down by a score and in it at the end of the game. And then we go against the Bears and we look so in control, just absolutely beat them down for 3 quarters. But then we get into the fourth quarter and we're only up by a score and still in a game. It's just so crazy. Teams we should be dominating, we're not dominating. Teams we should be getting dominated by, we're playing close with them and just barely losing. It's just been a weird season so far. We are truly seeing the other side of the coin with all of these one possession losses. Luckily, this week was a one possession win.
Oh, yeah, another one possession game.
But yeah, the Vikings just can't play a game without it being one possession, and it is literally taking years off my life at this point, so they need to stop doing it.
You're playing to your competition. I think that's what you're looking for.
The definition of it, yes.
No matter who you're playing, you make it a game, and that's certainly the kind of way to describe this game. And it was sloppy early on, especially with the Vikings having another turnover. You're talking about Jordan Love throwing interceptions. The Vikings lead the NFL in giveaways with, I believe.
Hey, Kirk only has like 2 or 3 picks, though. They're all
fumbles. They have like 7 or 8 fumbles, and
it might even be closer to 9.
Kirk's got a few picks, so he throws some picks too. So I don't think he had one in this game. I think that ended up being a fumble.
It got tipped at the line. So it was a pick, but it wasn't his fault. It was one of those ones that just.
Yeah, I saw that on Red Zone. I wasn't sure whether they're going to call that an interception or a fumble.
Yeah, it's just.
But either way, it was a turnover.
Vikings, they can cut down the turnovers. We got an easier schedule aside from the 49ers this coming week. Past that, we have a pretty easy schedule. We're not out of this season, but man, it sure feels like it sometimes. That's for sure. Moving on and heading to Callan's game of the week, we had a little bit of an upset, including the aforementioned 49ers. I shouldn't say a little bit of an upset, a huge upset, with the San Francisco 49ers being no longer unbeaten because they traveled to Cleveland to take on the Browns without Deshaun Watson playing, so the Browns with PJ Walker. And the Browns pick up a win in Cleveland by a score of 19-17.
Yeah, and this was another game where Brock Purdy had his very first interception. So not only did he have his first career loss in the regular season, he had his first career interception this season also. Not first career interception, but first interception of this season. But the Browns, they surprised me. I didn't realize their defense was so good. I was reading a stat. They're the second scoring defense behind the 49ers. So it was definitely a defensive battle to go out through this game. And it was raining and everything. There was fumbles and interceptions by both teams. And the Browns just did just enough to pull it out in the end. And when the 49ers, Jake Moody missed a 40-yarder that went, I believe, just wide right.
Just barely right.
Just barely missed it to the right, and it allowed the Browns to go away with the victory and the 49ers to have their first defeat of the season.
I knew Cleveland's defense was good, but I didn't realize they were that good. They are absolutely balling out, and they really showed up against this 49ers team. Their defense was a good match against this 49ers team offense, because this 49ers team really runs through the trenches, through the offensive line, and Cleveland's strength far and away is their defensive line and especially their linebackers. And when they can't get the run game going, they really focus on those short things, your catch and runs, your yards after catch to guys like George Kittle and Deebo Samuels. But when you have those freakishly athletic linebackers like the Browns do, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah being the first that comes to mind there, they can shut down that yards after catch. So they really were just able to almost perfectly counter that 49ers offense. But also big props to PJ Walker in that offense without Nick Chubb, without Deshaun Watson being able to go out there and put up 19 points against the number one scoring defense, as Callan mentioned a little bit ago, in the league. So shocker, but good stuff all around by the Cleveland Browns. So I can't wait to watch them go out next week and just play like absolutely crap and lose their game.
And just get blown out next week.
It's just the way the NFL rolls. It's bound to happen.
They were talking about how great the 49ers offense looked without McCaffrey and Deebo and Trent Williams. That offense looked very normal. And it looked like it struggled to function without those three main guys. And so that just says something about, Brock Purdy and that Kyle Shanahan offense.
Believe it or not, Brock Purdy is an MVP candidate when he doesn't have first team All-Pro surrounding him.
Right.
I mean, no one is, but
they make a difference.
It definitely makes a difference. And then now moving from one upset to another with my game of the week, I have the Philadelphia Eagles heading to New York to take on the Jets, and the Jets also picking up an upset win at home by a score of 20-14. Big story here is the interceptions by Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has 3 interceptions on the game, and I think he might have had the fumble. I know the Eagles as a whole had a fumble because they had 4 total turnovers, but I think it was Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts accounts for 3, if not all 4, of the Eagles' turnovers in this one. And coming from a Vikings fan this season, when you have 4 turnovers in the same game, you're not going to win it, no matter how bad the team is, no matter how close the score is. That is just way too much to try to fight back from. Zach Wilson kind of had a regression in this game, but he went against a very stellar Eagles defense, so that doesn't surprise me. It'll be interesting to see how he continues to play throughout the year, but the real impressive part of this Jets win was the fact that they were missing both starting corners. DJ Reed and Amani Sauce Gardner were both out this game, and they had literal practice squad corners out there on the field playing every snap of the game, and they were still able to hold this Eagles offense to only 2 touchdowns and shut them out in the second half. Crazy good stuff by that Jets defense.
Yeah, that's quite the performance by the defense, and that just goes to show about Robert Saleh's scheme and how well that defense can play when it plays the right way. And that comes from, the 49ers who continue to play that stellar kind of defense. So, it's interesting to see that the coaching carries over no matter where he goes to the team is. But I think it was quite the game for, the Jets defense to be able to do that without any of their starting corners. And excuse me, and with the Eagles throwing 3 interceptions, that is quite the killer. Like you said, it's hard to win games when you got 4 turnovers, and when you throw 3 interceptions, you can ask Jordan Love, you don't win games. It's surprising that they were able to keep it this close. And it's interesting that both of the upsets this week were led by backup quarterbacks, PJ Walker and Zach Wilson.
It's those teams you overlook at the end of the day. It is. It's really what it is. Another just small point I like about this game is Quincy Williams is slowly but surely becoming one of the best linebackers in this league this year. He is just playing out of his mind as of late. So that was our NFL Week 6 recap. Thank you all so much for watching, and make sure you stay tuned in until tomorrow when we have our NFL Week 7 predictions. But until then, don't forget
to eat the W.